South Africa's Madlanga Commission of Inquiry was established to reinforce accountability and strengthen democratic oversight. Instead, it has sparked concerns among legal and civil rights groups who argue that its reasoning, scope, and methods may undermine due processes. At the center of the debate is whether the inquiry itself respects constitutional principles. These concerns resonate beyond South Africa. Across the continent, commissions of inquiry are often powerful tools, but also potential instruments of overreach. When accountability mechanisms appear flawed, public trust erodes and democratic safeguards weaken.
So joining us are Njabulo Mwalwuli, technical surveillance. I think you should do this, Inam. Go ahead, if you do not mind.
Joining us to discuss this is Njabulo Mwalwuli, technical surveillance countermeasure practitioner, and Vangwere Tsotitsi, geopolitical analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining. My apologies, I'm Nigerian.
I think let's start with Vangwere. I'd want to greet you in Venda and teach Mazino something. Mazino, can you say Nda?
Nda.
Nda, what do you mean? Vangwere, what are the main legal and procedural criticisms being leveled against the Madlanga panel right now?
What is important to note there is that the commission, of course, it is seen as a very powerful tool. But then also its whole aim is for the politicians to try and win back the public trust of the country. Mm-hmm. So, and also this commission, they are established within the country that has its own law and constitution. So what we're seeing now is a lot of people who are supposed to be coming in, they challenging the constitution using the very same, they challenging the commission using the same laws and the constitution that protects everybody in South Africa. So I think the criticism are fair. And I also believe that Justice Madlanga also expects these things because they're dealing with a lot of sensitive things.
Njabulo, there are allegations involving figures such as Kat Matlala, who seem to have extensive knowledge of police and political crises circles. What does this suggest about the depth of corruption within the system, and how does this influence ongoing investigations?
Well, thank you. We must remember that within the Commission of Madlanga, we have actually learned that Kat Matlala owned a security company, but the security company that he owned appears to have benefited from another municipality, which is Ekurhuleni, for being access to blue light, which they were not entitled to. But over and above that, we heard that the commission testimony from your General Khumalo and also General Nkwanas, that Kat is also identified as one of the key members, or one of the big five cartel members. Now, when you look at that information that we've received from the commission,
right, it
then actually gives us to understand that these allegations of corruption appears to be a systematic network issues within South Africa. They're not really isolated. So Kat, you can see him as a person who is a conduit between the criminal world as well as the politician as well as business. So that's how then you understand that's a patronage of that's the ecosystem of patronage, like you've seen with the latest witness who happened to be his girlfriend.
Tsotitsi, I'm hoping that you are with us now. Let's confirm that you are connected to us. If you could say something, Tsotitsi. I think we've lost him. So I'm going to continue with you, Njabulo, if you do not mind. Now, Njabulo, for me as a Nigerian, looking at this from the inside out, or rather from the outside in, something that catches my concern is the fact that we have witnesses who are either murdered or have committed suicide. Only just a couple of days ago, we heard about one of the witnesses who committed suicide. This was not because there was a lack of trial when it came to him being assassinated. There had been efforts to do that. And here we have the fact that he committed suicide in front of his partner. And it seems to me like it was a certain lack of hope when it comes to witnesses or people who are implicated inside of this story. And I'm wondering how that implicates the justice system or the security architecture when it comes to witnesses in the Madlanga case.
Yes. Thank you for that. But what we need to understand now is that because of the commission, we have people that are actually subpoenaed to come and assist the commission to get to the truth. You have your witnesses, people that we deem as witnesses in them. But then you also have people that have heavily been implicated. So then they realize that there's no way out for them. Then they will go to Madlanga Commission to use the pan to spill the bean. When you're spilling the beans, it's like they go on and confess to the things that they've done while implicating themselves. So in some instances where witnesses have actually taken their own lives, it is sometimes, it's a lot of stress. I know one person like Patricia Mashele, she goes through a lot. Like I can tell you what, today, she woke up, her dogs were poisoned.
Oh dear.
Can you imagine that? So now that you could see that could be a warning to them, to the witnesses that, you know what, or whistleblower, that watch your step. We've also seen in the Senzo Mewa case where a prominent attorney, Ngomezulu, who reported to the court that I don't feel safe now. I feel like I'm being followed. There's a lot of things that happened. And all of a sudden, he also dies mysteriously.
So then what are the authorities doing about these deaths? If they note that this high-stake case is bringing about people's assassinations or murders, what security are they providing for whistleblowers? Well,
in all fairness to the government, is that they will never provide something that is enough, because remember, this is an ecosystem. We've had witnesses who were under witness protection that were found dead 5 days later.
In witness protection?
Their bodies were dead. Yes, in witness protection, basically. So now you see that the safety of witnesses, basically, I think they just survive by the grace of God. I don't think that there is any security measures that can be put to protect them.
So the network of implication, this travels how far way up? Is it into the political system, the judicial system? Who exactly might be responsible for these deaths?
Well, we allow the investigations to uncover that. But we can safely say, based on the information that, for example, when we look at Witness D, that has testified the Madlanga Commission. So Witness D confessed to some criminal activities that he was a party to. But then he went on and implicated other people, which then now says that those people who were with him, they saw him now as a threat. So then they actually unalived him. But when you see these people, it's not just random people, that it's a very highly skilled people that are doing these things. So for me, I don't call them as killings, I call them executions, because the way that they're done, it's a well-planned executions.
And Jabulo, it is a bit alarming, I will say that, and especially for someone like me who is what you call a born free. I think in our lifetime, we never thought that something of this magnitude would ever be brought forward to the table. But I'd like us to look at the statement that President Cyril Ramaphosa made. And in the statement he made, it said there that he authorized investigations into those implicated. However, names like suspended Minister of Police and Deputy Commissioner Sibia are not included. My question to you is, what could be the reason for their absence? And what does this imply about our commission?
Well, our commission, we must understand that it's political. We must understand that our president is a politician as well. He needs to balance his political standing within his party, but then he also needs to respect the constitution of the country. So now you can only, I feel that the president, because ANC is also approaching the election year, Now, I feel that the president might be politically constrained, basically, or procedural cautious. Reason I'm saying that because we must remember that General Spear has not yet testified in the Madlanga Commission, as well as Minister Mtoni has not yet testified. So I'm thinking that he doesn't want to make them a subject of investigation when they've not really testified, given evidence into the commission. So I'm of the view that at this point in time, for the phase one of the commission, I think it is fair that those two names are excluded.
All right. Vangwere, I'm not sure if you can hear me. If you can, please respond, because I do have a question for you.
Had a bit of network
All right.
on my side.
Welcome.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
yeah, I can hear you loud and clear now. Vangwere, I wrote this down because it's an interesting one, but given the report of police involvement, because right now it is quite clear that police involvement is high, all the way up to Begitele and going all the way down. Now, given the involvement of police and, of course, the alleged corruption, especially in high-profile cases, not just this one, but in history as well, we've seen the repetition. What does this tell us about the state of law enforcement in South Africa? And, of course, are we seeing a pattern of police being complicit in criminal activities?
I mean, yes, absolutely. I have to agree with what you're saying. So I think what we're seeing what I call a commercialization of the badge, right? We're no longer dealing on rotten apples. The entire barrel is actually compromised. I mean, I say this because, the syndicate is it's no longer just bribing these officials. They've actually successfully hired them to be their private security and also their intelligence assets. So now it really becomes a problem in that way, because now we're seeing South Africa moving from a very fragile democracy into a mafia state, right? And this on its own, it does erode public trust. So now, as an ordinary South African, how do you then have faith in the very same people who are meant to protect you in your communities, in the streets? So it does definitely erode public trust, and it's truly disheartening what's happening within our police service. And also I think it also raises questions about South Africa is mostly reactionary in what we do. So now, I mean, as we know that the whole Madlanga Commission was due to the allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner General Badlam Connors, right? So now, you ask yourself that, how many of, such things are happening in other departments, that, we don't know about, So it's really, truly disheartening what we see, within our South African police service.
Bangawili, I have a question for you. And you spoke about public trust. The public do not trust the judicial system at this point. But then again, there's also another way to look at this. If you flip the coin around, with a lack of trust in the authorities, in the police system, then witnesses are not going to come forward. You will not have these testimonies, and that hurts the court process itself, because what you need, the people don't trust you enough. It's a catch-22 type of situation. How do you see this affecting the case in the long run?
No, absolutely. I mean, I was talking to a friend earlier on, and I was telling them that, the failure for the state to actually protect its witnesses, it's really disheartening, because now the message that's being sent out there is that, if you have evidence or if you have something to say, then do not come forward, because now chances are we are not going to be able to protect you. And, also another thing, what was truly disturbing was that the execution, as Njabula puts it, of witness D, Mr. Marius Vandermoor. I saw some reports saying that, it was suicide, but this is the person who was actually shot multiple times in front of his family in Brakpan. Surely that is not a methodology of suicide. That is a professional hit, So it does make it very fragile that, if you're someone who has information, you will fear for your life, at what cost, that, you go forward and actually, provide information knowing very well that, you're not going to be protected, And to be honest with you, I feel like, we should have an external, agency that is actually tasked with, protecting, our whistleblowers. Because the way it is right now, I feel like, we are actually in full operational mode of the shadow state.
Vangwere, still on you. Goodness. Where does the nation go from here? Okay, yes, Mkhwanazi brought up the allegations. I think it also is a bit alarming to say we don't necessarily know how long Mkhwanazi had been in seat for him to uncover all of these things. So it's quite clear that this has, from the roots, it took root and then it began to grow and fester from there. Where does the country go from here outside of the vote of no confidence? Because we've seen the corruption. We know what happened with the finance that was supposed to go to Tembisa Hospital and all the other areas that the government is supposed to assist with. Where does the country go from here? Can South Africa even recover from such a situation?
Like I said, it's not just we're not just dealing with rotten apple. Like I said, it's the whole barrel that is actually compromised, So it becomes very, very difficult, to think of like, where do we go from here as a country, because now, are you meaning to tell me that the president of South Africa, the person who's in charge of intelligence, he didn't know everything that's happening within the police service? There's absolutely no way, So I think it's very difficult. And also as South Africans, an ordinary South African, as a young person living in South Africa, I truly have no hope on where do we go from here? I mean, looking at our police force and also looking at our justice system, So it really I feel like, what's happening is that, we are seeing like a privatization of justice, where we see people in the streets, viewing the state, viewing the police as the enemy. And that is very dangerous because now, what the people in the streets will actually resort to, they will resort to the whole thing of mob justice, where, they just take matters in their own hands because now there's no police. The police are actually, hired as private company, as a private security.
I mean, Vangwere, if I can actually just interject with what you said, in Africa, South Africa is notorious for that. Every now and again, when I try and tease Maz, I tell them that South Africa is still better because the government still fears the people, But right now, it looks like there's a bit of change to that. Should there be a situation where the youth and the people want to take justice into their own hands? This is my last question for both of you gentlemen. In about 30 seconds, what does that say or what will that do to the economy of South Africa?
Real quick.
Sorry, can you please repeat the question? So
I was saying that to piggyback on what you have just said about, our riots and all of that, South Africa is notorious for that. Everybody knows that if you try, this, South Africans are known to retaliate through riots, through strikes, through protests and the likes. Now, if the public that is watching are not satisfied with what is happening and you see a situation in an instance where people go to the streets, what does this say about the economy of South Africa? What does this say, for us as a whole? Is this something that the government will try to prevent? Very quickly, please, for the both of you.
Okay. So, what's the issue is that I highly think that, there will be like any form of protest that is quite significant that will actually scare the state. And I say this because now in South Africa, especially amongst the youth, we lack social mobilization, if I can put it like that. And I say this is because now people are, categorized into different classes. You have people, who are actually, maybe well off, and you have people like the lower working class. So I think that the state has actually, learned this and realized that, yes, there might be protests and all that, but not to a point where, it will actually destabilize the economy and all that. I mean, for sure, in 2021, we had, I think, one of the most...
Vangwere, I'm so sorry, I have to cut you because we are out of time. And I'd like
no problem.
Njabulo to actually give his final entry before we go. My apologies, but Njabulo, we're out of time. If you can keep it very short. That final question that was asked by Inam.
South Africans, basically, they love their country as much as they are very disappointed about what is currently happening. our economy still remain intact, but there is a loss in trust on the politician as it stands now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Njabulo. Thank you very much, Vahangwele. And thank you very much, Inam, for the lessons before now on how to pronounce your names right. Unfortunately, I didn't pass that class. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.